spaceship is ready to take off. Okay, so today, welcome again, mates. Good to see everybody.
Morning.
Today's conversation is we want to talk a little bit
Morning,
about
Larry.
what.
Morning,
Yep,
Erin,
yep.
Glen. Hi,
Morning.
everyone.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
afternoon.
Morning.
So the question is, why is cryptocurrency here to stay? Is it here to stay? Will it stay? And so that seems to be a lot of what goes around right this minute in social media. Is it on its way out, or is what we're seeing kind of normal? Nathaniel, let's start with you. What's your thoughts on that?
Hi, Larry. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak out. So first of all, you're talking about cryptocurrency. So let's make the distinction, like cryptocurrency is basically just what is being transacted on top of the blockchain, the technology. And on the technical side, the technology powers all the programs that are being built on top, the decentralized application. So as long as there's going to be blockchain keep getting built, or application that keeps getting built on top of the blockchain, there will still be more cryptocurrency. Right now, you maybe have like one cryptocurrency for one protocol, tomorrow you can have like a dozen cryptocurrency for like the same protocol. Okay. Going back to the technical aspect and implementation, this is where I'm seeing like really the trend and the substance in the growth of the industry, which is if you look at how many new developers, how many new projects have been transitioning from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, building, decentralizing, it's not been going down. The concept that cryptocurrency comes and goes, it's mostly you could say from a market perspective where you see prices going up and down. But if you still look at, for example, the aggregate transactions that's happening on the blockchain, especially Ethereum and all the layer 2 solutions that are built around Ethereum, is still going up every single day. So there is more usage. And if you look at the amount of contracts that are being deployed on the blockchain, there's still more and more exponentially being deployed every day. So building is still ongoing. Building is stronger than ever. That means you have a huge base of infrastructure that are being built, which means the usage of cryptocurrency, which comes and goes with market cycle, is still going to be here in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, and 4 years. You only need the big shift in the tide, whereby you get users coming in, institutional investors coming in to really see what is being built right now surface. I mean, this is my perspective of how to measure development or adoption, or how the system will retain cryptocurrency.
All right, I have a question. You said usage is growing, developers are growing, the building on the platforms is growing. If all that is growing in a typical stock world, when you have all that growth, you usually have some growth in the pricing, right? But we don't actually have that right this minute in the different currencies. So why is that that's not happening?
It's actually very simple. So if you draw a line about all the building and the activity, it's like an exponential curve. It goes up like this. But if you draw a line about price and valuation, it's like a sine curve. It's like whipsawing up and down, up and down. So we are at this point in time where the pricing, okay, is actually whipsawing way under the actual adoption curve. And in 2021, or like beginning of 2022, when the prices were really high, what was actually happening is like the price line was like whipsawing way above the development curve. I mean, it's like it's the same as the traditional market, boom and bust, boom and bust. You don't get a straight line where the economy just grows incrementally by a fixed basis point every year. You get like periods of expansion and exacerbation, and then periods of contraction. But the period of contraction is where you really get the bang for your buck, the best value and the best something to invest in.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Bilal, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm highly aligned to what Nathaniel's putting forward. You've got two things. You've got the technology and you've got the price. It's two different things. So I like to use the analogy of people riding horses And I've seen a picture of, I think it was in New York. There's a picture of a street with one car and lots of horses, and 10 years later, a picture of one horse and lots of cars. And in 10 years, that's how the streets changed. And if you think about what had to change for that to happen, I mean, what do you feed a horse? Where does a horse, um, you know, uh, defecate? How do you clean the streets? Then how do you get to a car? How do you fill petrol into that car? The tires, the industry. It's a big change, and for all of that to happen in 10 years is quite a big thing. And with that move from horses to cars, I'm sure a lot of cars, knocked into the side of the road. A lot of people broke the traffic roads, the rules of the road. You needed stop signs. You needed traffic lights with red and green robots. You needed safety belts and bumpers and alarm systems to prevent your car getting stolen. And all of that stuff had to be built, which wasn't on the first Model T, Ford. I mean, all the features in your car today were not in the first car that ever existed. So I think what we're going through now is a period where innovation has run ahead of technology, and innovation has run to a point where it is maybe a little bit unsafe, where regulation needs to come in to protect investors. And as long as the regulation doesn't stifle innovation, but only protects the portions of that innovation that need to be protected, that's a good thing. To echo what Nathaniel's saying, technology usage, use cases, adoption, those things keep going up. But the price is determined by supply and demand, it's determined by sentiment, it's determined by macroeconomic interest rate policies. Um, so 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 price and technology don't have to go in the same direction. They often do. Um, but if you're going through the J curve of a particular business, and it's still building, uh, you know, you can see a business where it is going through a production phase, which isn't really reflected in the price of that particular share. So I think right now what we're going through is a purge of the crypto industry, like the dot-com bubble, where 95% of any pre dot-com bubble bursting, anyone with a dot-com in their name was getting a high valuation. And then we realized that it was a lot of hot air in most cases, but out of that some unicorns emerged. And what we're going through now is a painful but necessary purge that takes the fluff and the fraudsters and the weak businesses out of the crypto market, adds a bit of regulation, hopefully the appropriate amount of regulation, and then allows us to grow from a new base, a more stronger and robust crypto industry. So
Right.
so
So let me ask you this, Bilal. Um, you mentioned the car industry, and the reason that we went from horses to cars, it was way better, way more efficient. It just made everything so much better for people to live their lives. Is um, the digital assets, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, digital fiat, is that without a doubt the next? In other words, there's no such thing as that's not going to happen. We're just going to stay status quo. Is that because why? Why are we going to do all these
Well,
things?
Larry, you've asked Bilal a question, but may I jump in here,
sure.
please, guys? Because again, fully agree with Nathaniel's statements as well as Bilal's. But Bilal touched on what I was going to say, and I'm pretty emphatic about it because it's a good example because it is a historical working example of what I'm about to say. The dot-com period, pre-2000, you would, on the back of a cigarette box, valuations were done. I'm exaggerating here. Valuations were done, and companies were listed for with a cap of $1 billion. The thinking at the time was, in the future, there was going to be an e-commerce online business of all sorts of big numbers and so on, but it hadn't quite happened yet, but that's what they foresaw. And lo and behold, the world got nervous. They didn't feel that there was certain real value to a lot of these companies. There was no real assets to back up these companies. And in the end, your traditional old school folk said, I mean, am I really going to buy online? Is this really going to work? Blah, blah, blah. And couldn't quite foresee what we are now taking for granted. My kids only know buying online. They don't know walking into a retail shop. So my point is this. The digital asset space is absolutely no different. It's a teenager finding its feet, just like the dot-com period was showed us where, I mean, we discussed this in previous podcasts. I mean, Amazon was a dot-com company that's now considered a blue chip defensive stock. So I've never been more sure in all my life that digital assets, i.e. cryptocurrencies, are here to stay. But we're going through a maturity. There's just like the dot-com bubble burst where companies were worth $1 billion one day and worth zero the next day. People lost a lot of money during that period, but again, it was a renaissance period where the world and a sector was finding its feet. And we look back now and people have got short memories. They forget that the conversations we're having about cryptocurrencies now was the same discussions we're having about these dot-com companies then. It's a natural progression of things. It's not stopping it. It's entrenched. Nathaniel's talk about the more usage of the technology. I mean, it's not going away. If anything, it's refined and it's expanding and it's developing at an alarming rate.
So one of the things you're saying also, Glenn, which is interesting, is you're saying almost every industry and everything in the world is going to constantly innovate throughout humankind as we go forward.
Exactly.
And right now, we've done the industrial, we've done the technology, we've done the internet. We're in the middle of the automobile and batteries, and now we're also just getting started with the financial world. And who knows, 100 years from now, every one of these same sectors will be going through their next evolution of growth. And what you're also saying, what turbocharges that growth is really the generation that's creating it and is going to be using it. And one of the things I find interesting is, today you look at, I'll call it our wizards of the world who give their opinions, right? And most of the naysayers are from the generation who had nothing to do with creating it or understanding it. And I go back to, Warren Buffett, brilliant man, obviously knows what he's doing. But when the internet started, he thought that was the silliest waste of time. He liked his good friend Bill Gates, but obviously wouldn't waste a penny of investment in Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the list goes on, Steve Jobs. But yet those companies now, as you said, those are the largest companies in the world. And so it's understandable that you have a lot of the older people that say, I wouldn't touch it. It's just not their generation. And so I find that really interesting. So Erin, there's probably nobody more connected to the babies of the world, those in their 15 to 30 age bracket. What are you hearing, seeing, and sensing? And also, don't forget to do your laundry later this afternoon.
It's a blanket.
Yes.
Yeah, so I necessarily wasn't concerned about the calm bubble because I don't even know if I was alive, how old I was,
my,
like
my point exactly.
Yeah.
But Erin,
like
thanks for making us feel so young and vibrant.
Yeah.
hey, y'all are more awake than me though. But like all other industries, I think the crypto industry right now is going through this like a series of various innovation cycles. We're seeing all of these crypto founders and developers working on challenging problems every single day on scalability. We have interoperability, consensus, all trying to fight this like to drive mainstream adoption. And proof of that is just going to Art Basel. So if you went to Art Basel last year and then you attended this year, you would see, I think the amount of people there was at least doubled. So yes, we might be in a builder's market regarding crypto and NFTs, but the amount of people that have actually still stayed and are involved in our building and trying to help reach mass adoption, they're all here. So they're really pushing to help the general public understand what's going on. What do we have to look forward to? So, like with NFTs, um, no one really sees all of the use cases. A lot of adults hear the word NFTs and they kind of, shy away from that. They're like, oh, that's a digital art picture. I don't want to touch it. Why wouldn't I just want the physical? But now you're able to talk about travel with NFTs, education, a pass to go to restaurants, luxury subscriptions, mental health access. Like it's not limited to just a digital painting, and it's how we're going to get the world to see that as well. So yeah, we might be in this downtrend bear market. Everyone's super sad, but once people see the really good use cases behind digital currencies and NFTs and where we can go from here and really grasp that full potential, I think we're going to get everybody back on board again.
So let me ask this then. Listening to what you said, if I were to like cut it in half, I would say, the NFTs, the real estate, the paintings, the projects, just things that have value. I would say that's one side. And I think that's almost easier to say, okay, I understand that, I can see it. It's just another form, method of ownership. When I look at the other side, and for example, a good friend of mine was saying to me yesterday on Facebook, Larry, I know you believe in this stuff, and I don't want to start, quote, a shit show, he said on Facebook. He said, but when you get to the financial side, the actual money, right? Money that we buy and sell and we use to do things. What he was saying is, aren't you afraid that once that happens, the government or the governments of the world will have such control on everything we do in the movement of those dollars, you wouldn't want it. So for that side of the equation, I'd love to hear what y'all think as it applies to that. And well, if that didn't go forward, what do? We just sit with actual paper currency and banking the way it is, and we just continue on, or is that not?
Well,
That's not going to happen.
my response to that is that how far back do we want to go? At the end of the day, all those concerns are real, but there's nothing we can do about it. The point is, the ocean liner has left the dock, and it's impossible to stop. We can go back to when 10 chickens, the barter system, 10 chickens got you a cow, and then someone walked up and knocked on the door with a gold nugget that supposedly is mined from a central spot, and the guy said, what am I going to do with a gold nugget? That's not going to work. I don't want to know. And then we had a credit card system. People said, well, listen, everyone's going to know what you're spending. It goes back to a bank that has to report to. There's always been people said, well, listen, you're going to get an iPhone or a smartphone. Everyone's going to know what you're doing. Everyone said, okay, well, I'm not going to have a phone because I want to have my anonymity and my privacy. Lo and behold, they had to get an iPhone because they couldn't speak to their children otherwise. So the point is, those concerns are real. There's always a trade-off in life. You get something, you give something up. That's never going to change. And as I said, the ocean liner has left the dock. They ain't stopping it. It is what it is. There's going to be
And
good things, and there's going to be bad
I think
things.
the
That's
bigger
just the
question
way.
is, what is Larry
That's the
trying
way
to hide?
progress. That's what happens with progress.
Glenn, I think the bigger
what?
question is, what is Larry?
What's that?
What I think the bigger question is, what is Larry trying to hide?
Well,
Why is Larry so
I
afraid
just
of the
want to make.
transparency, Larry?
Yeah,
What are you doing with your money?
Uh, I'm
yeah.
I'm totally open. I
Well,
guess some of my friends.
I tell you what will change. I think less and less people will start going to strip clubs.
That is a fact.
So
But I guess
there's going to be certain industries are going to be affected.
no, no question. I think what people are afraid of too. They don't want to get on the Titanic of the financial services side of the equation. You know, it's interesting. The Erin's and her age group. Hey, this is all normal stuff. This is so simple to see, comfortable as can be, not a question. Then you get to the old shits like me, although I'm a little different because I like hanging out with the young. You get the older people, and they're like, Larry, you're out of your mind. You don't know what you're doing, right? Because, and by the way, the average 50-year-old and above, and we're going to see that, they haven't got a clue really anything about digital assets, how they work, where they come, what they mean. All they ever hear about in the news, Luna went down, FTX went down, I knew it, I'm out.
Well,
Like
I
you,
mean, Larry, it just goes back to my point, 1999, 2000. You know, that generation, those folks were saying, Chiefers, buy online. I can't. I want to feel it. I want to touch it. I want to try it
right,
on.
right.
Ain't going to happen. These guys are trying to. Sorry, Erin. It was 1999, 2000. .com started around about 94, 95. Um, uh, in fact, even before that, but that's when it really became world news. I think you were born in after that.
94. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Into
So,
94.
but uh, it's the same thing. That's why I think that is the best and only example that is relatable and an example of substance, because it's in that virtual space. It's all to do with online living, whether it be e-commerce, cryptocurrency, and it's just the other sector within that realm that we are now dealing with, and that is cryptocurrencies, digital assets. Now officially has become an asset class. So it was always going to happen. It was a natural progression of things, and just to say it again, it's only going to get bigger, harder, and faster.
Well, Glenn, just to add something to that, also, when you have all these big companies, so now people are used to buying online. And yes, I remember many, many, many years ago, you always went to like a mall to go shopping. That was it, and that was how you touched it. Well, even the older generation, I could tell you, for example, Suzanne, I could look out my window, and usually, and I took a couple of pictures. I'll have to post them. DHL, FedEx, Amazon, and UPS, all four trucks were lined up in front of my house to drop off stuff my wife had been ordering. Now, the bad news is they always said, say hi to Suzanne. I knew what that meant. That meant those credit card bills were coming in fast and furious, and they were big. So I think you're also right. As they start taking on and allowing to be paid, and even requesting to be paid, right, the way they are now, it's like you said. I think the ship is left right now. A lot of them leaving port are the FTX Titanics, and once these all go down and everything, as you said, we find our sea legs. This is kick butt. So really, for those people who believe in the future of where we're going, to take a few dollars today, it is literally, if you're in the right investments and you're with the right people to help guide you, you're literally getting into the Microsofts and the Amazons and the Apples right when they're being founded. It's too exciting. And what's great is it's not taking 10 years to or 20 years to reach the numbers that these other companies did, but things are moving geometrically 5, 6, 7, 10 years. What some of these companies could be in their valuations, we believe they're going to be crazy. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody. Does anyone have any more that they want to add, or I think we've covered pretty much it? Erin, you were taking a breath.
I was just gonna say, as long as they regulate crypto and not place an outright ban, we are going to propel innovation in this space forward. The people who believe are here to stay, and those that don't, they're going to miss out on the boat. And years from now, they'll see that, everyone here was right in believing in this. So,
All right. Well, with that, mates, thank you. You all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll see you next
Bye,
Friday.
guys.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Nathaniel. Thanks, Erin. Thanks,
bye
Pete.
guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.